Just another one to go over a question I got asked a couple of times now, and it's how often should you do soft tissue work? So I get a massage from a sports masseuse at the moment nearly every week, but pretty much every other week. That is because right now I'm very close to competition. Just a little over 3 weeks out, so just want to make sure everything's moving right and getting out any anything that's feeling a bit dodgy. Like, I've got a couple of little niggles, and loosening up tissues around the areas could certainly help. I got a bit of an issue in my lat, so working on that seems to help my shoulder. Got some knee issues, only slightly, but I know loosening my quads off and hamstrings and calves will massively help my knee. So how often should you be doing soft tissue work? And by that I mean on your own, because obviously massages are expensive. If you're on your own with a lacrosse ball, a PVC pipe, a foam roller, whatever it may be, I would say between 1 and 2 times a week, ideally 2. I like to do. I probably do a little bit more than that, but just for less time. But if you had like half an hour to work on your lower body and another half an hour to work on your upper body on the other day, that would probably put you in really good stead. So these things are kind of insurance policies, and I find that when I get banged up, you go and get a massage, see a physio, which gives you a massage, or whatever it may be, right? And maybe if you have, a half decent knowledge of the human, anatomy and physiology and so on, maybe you think, well, probably is my tight quads, and you kind of know it, and you go in there and they start massaging you, and you're like, and you're like, yeah, I've been lazy. So doing a little bit yourself is just taking that insurance policy out, and it can certainly prevent things. If you're getting knee pain so bad you can't squat and stuff like that, when actually all you need to do is roll your quads out, or your distal hamstring, or your calves. That seems certainly insane, but it does happen. People do not take care of themselves, and the chances are, if you are doing more volume than ever, which there is certainly a chance of that, that will cause your muscles to, potentially get some tone and tightness, and that tightness can create some knots. And let's remember that you say your knee hurts or your elbow hurts or this and the other. Let's just remember that the muscles pull on bone, and try and remember your body as a system, not as individual body parts. And also another thing to remember is where you probably hurt is 9 times out of 10 not the issue. Like, if your front of your shoulder hurts right in here, there's a big chance it could be your pec, it could be in here, it could also just be your lat. Sometimes loosening up your lats gives you slack in the pecs. You just gotta imagine it like a rope. Imagine there's a rope here around your back, and someone's pulling it tight, and that's effectively what your lats could be doing. And if you're not loosening up your lats, it can be pulling on your pecs, and then you can get loads of problems. And you think, oh, it's my pec, and you keep stretching out your pec, and you keep rolling out your pec, and you keep doing stuff to your pecs. Well, actually it's your lats. So try and remember your body's a system, and it's all just sheets of muscle sort of connected over different joints, and that is why I recommended a general twice a week, kind of 30-minute upper lower split, because you're going to encapsulate things you may not think about otherwise. So yeah, that's key. So I mean, I think people get caught up with being okay and being fine, and you know, people say success is a bad teacher. I definitely think that is the case when it comes to soft tissue work, in regards to, oh, I'm not doing any and I'm fine. Well, maybe you won't be. It's always the case. It's always the case. And then something goes and you're like, man, I wasn't keeping on top of that. So just take the insurance policy out. Just be smart, be safe, and it doesn't take that long. Something I'd recommend is when you're watching TV, for those that have been to mine, know that in front of my TV I have different things in the living room, from a PVC pipe to like cross balls to a peanut to like an orb, like a big ball. I have this geisha or guasha, depending on how you want to say it, scraping tools with some coconut oil. That's something I'd recommend as well. Potentially is getting a scraping tool from Amazon, like tenner, bottle of coconut oil. Buy the cheap stuff. Do not buy it if it's in a glass bottle. Just so overpriced. It's coconut oil. It's actually really cheap, but for some reason it's now like in vogue. So it's 20 quid a bottle if you buy it in a glass fancy tub. That's marketing, but never mind. Go to like the kind of like ethnic food section, whatever you want to call it, or global food section. I don't know what's PC, but in a food store like in Sainsbury's and something, and you'll get it for like super cheap. Slap that on and start scraping away. That could be good at some self-myofascial release. You can find some horrible bits of tissue, and it can certainly help release that. And it's basically kind of like a Graston, but Graston's a brand. It's not a method. Graston's a brand. Some people say they're getting Graston. Those are specific metal tools, but it's nothing you couldn't do with the back end of a knife, basically, and some coconut oil. Anyway, so yeah, you can sit in front of the TV on the floor and sit on a lacrosse ball and do some things, roll around and get some things in some tight areas and move around and release things. You know, I am skeptical somewhat of foam rolling and stuff like that, because they've kind of shown that it takes like 2,000 pounds of pressure to create 1% shear force on like, I think it's like your nose tissue or something like that. So like when you're say you've got a lacrosse ball in your glute, kind of there's no science behind it. It's not like physically changing your tissues necessarily, because you need so much pressure to create your to actually change the tissue. So I think it's like this, like, I think it's in your head. I think this tone can be released because of like the what am I trying to say? Cockroach. Anyway, sorry, what was I saying? Yeah, so I think it's kind of in your head. Like, I don't think the actual tissue changes, but it can release some tone and the tightness in your muscle and create range of movement. Like, is it going to actually change tissue? Probably not, because otherwise, if you squat anything over 60 kilos, why is there not a big dent in your back? Like, your tissues are all mangled. You know, your body isn't that weak. You'd have a big flat arse if you sat on your arse all day. You'd have like a flat arse. So your tissues aren't that, you know. But it does definitely do something. It does definitely create more range of movement and all this other stuff. So it's definitely good to spend a little bit of time, 30 minutes, upper and lower. I'd recommend getting into the quads. Just honestly, just everything. If you don't already get a lacrosse ball on your feet, that's fantastic. I even got a little golf ball for your feet, and it's horrible. You're spending a couple of minutes on your feet. If you're walking around all day, the fascia on the bottom of your feet get tight, and it can pull on your heel cords and your calves. That leads to knee pain, which can lead to like quad problems and hip problems. Just remember, it's all upstream, downstream. Spend some time on your psoas, which is the about 3-4 inches above the hip flexor. That's kind of where the hip flexors actually finish. If you look at the human body. So it's basically kind of like abs, lower abs down to the side. Roll those out. Spend some time clearing that up. That can like massively relieve some back pain because it gets tight at the front. It'll pull your pelvis like that. Put you into more anterior pelvic tilt, i.e. Instagram arse, and that can create loads of other issues. So just try and note that your body is this whole system, and giving slack to certain areas can loosen things off. It's really important to try and remember that, and spend a little bit of time just clearing up your lats, clearing up your pecs. It can just prevent so many issues. You might not get bicep tendonitis that might lead to you not benching for a while. It might protect you from getting quad tendonitis or knee tendonitis, most common, or all these things just by keeping on top of it. So those are a few things I'd use. Something I do for like upper body is I just set a timer and just spend like 2 minutes on each lat, working from the armpit, laying on your side and go all the way down to where the lat inserts, almost like to your ribs area. Spend a lot of time on these things, and when you find a spot that really hurts and radiates pain, chill and spend some time there and see if it can somewhat release. Massages are expensive, and they're not pointless, and they do provide a good service. However, a lot of stuff can be done on your own. It really can. And a massage is something I do often when I can't. Either it's too painful to do on my own, or it's an area I can't really reach properly on my own. So when I need to get my lats done properly, and I can only do so much on my own, it's really painful, and I need to grin and bear it and get through it, and get someone to get in there for minutes at a time. That's when I get a massage. It's not something I do straight away when I've got a little tiny issue. If my knees hurt, I'm probably not going to get a massage, because I've been doing this like quite a while now, and I know what I need to do. So if I get knee pain, I'm probably just going to stretch my hips out, doing the couch stretch against the wall. Do not do it against the couch. Do not do it against the sofa. Only do it against the sofa if you're regressing it because it's too hard for you. Do it against the wall, get your knee against the wall, couch stretch, 2 minutes aside. Then the pigeon stretch, again 2 minutes aside. With the pigeon, I like to not go 90 degrees with the leg. I do a much more acute angle with the knee to stop the micro turns around the knee. The frog, for the adductors. Then the lizard, and that would probably be my main go-tos for just the hip tightness. And then after that, I would roll my quads out. If I'm in the gym, I'll do it with a barbell or a 20 to 25 kilo plate, and just roll it all the way down. Kettlebell is also pretty good, decent, and I'd use the top end of kettlebell, turn upside down, and just roll it down my legs. You can also just start right at the top of your hip flexor and work down just 1 inch above the kneecap. You don't want to roll over your actual bones. And you can do some quad extensions while you're doing that, and that can be like really effective for knee pain. And then after that, I would look at stretching the feet and the calves, and this is kind of like a troubleshooting thing that I do with certain injuries because I've had them before. And maybe it's something I should create a little kind of infographic or something on, because I have been banged up quite a few times, and there is this thought process, a little checklist I go through each time. If if it's knee pain or shoulder pain or lat pain or whatever it may be, I go through and check these things off before seeing professional help, and that is going to save a lot of fucking money and a lot of time. You know, and please tell me if you have any issues, because like I've been around powerlifting for a while and I've had a lot of issues myself. You know, and still get them as part of it, getting a little bit banged up, and as you get stronger, chances are more banged up you're going to get with little niggles here and there just from the weight. But yeah, it can save you a lot of money just by putting in a bit of work yourself and having a bit of an idea of what you're doing. I know a lot of people that have got a little bit of an injury and that's it for them. They're done. You know, their knees hurt, they stop squatting, they love squatting, they never really put the time in on fixing themselves, and that's it, they're done. Or potentially their really bad mobility or really bad tissue health leads them to be in compromising positions, which could lead to like devastating injuries. Can all injuries be prevented? No, but you can prevent a lot of them, and I think doing some soft tissue work twice a week is really the kind of minimum, half an hour each time. Really, like before you go to bed is like a pretty good time to do it, because it kind of kicks in that parasympathetic nervous system, gets your body a little bit relaxed, and don't get all sweaty while you're doing it, but it can be pretty good to kind of like kick those sleep hormones into gear. So yeah, those are a couple things anyway on soft tissue work that may help you. Now, time to train.